This podcast features a lot of adult language.
45.
Well, after Wasteland Weekend, I can't grow.
Yeah, something about the climate just nuked your ability.
Nuked my ability to grow a beard longer than this.
Certain animals have certain genes that only trigger in different environments. Like,
so then you're saying I have to go find a place.
You gotta go cold. You gotta go to like the Arctic. No, I'm not. Well, it's like all right, no, God. I'm not. I was gonna cite a certain animal, but it just would come off bad, so I'm not going to. But it's a good example. No. All right. So if you take a domesticated pig,
yes, and
you introduce it to the wild, within a few months, it turns into a warthog. Like it changes. It grows the ridges on its back. Tusks grow out. Like it's a different animal. So it's just. But it's that outside stimulus, and then you domesticate it, and it turns into a big pussy. So, it's not crazy to think like, my beard only grows out if it's fucking cold as balls outside, shit like that. Like
that does sound bad.
See, that's what I'm saying. I didn't want to say.
You just equated me to a pussy. That's what you're saying.
No,
or pig.
No, I equated you to someone like if you're in the desert, your body doesn't want a beard because it's hot as balls. That's all.
Be a warthog, not a pig.
Oh yeah,
message of the day.
Be whatever you want.
Be whatever you want. Don't pick whatever.
Just don't compare your friends to pigs.
Peasant magic.
Welcome to Per Diem. I will be your host tonight, Brett Rude. And joining me tonight, we have over here, James Houlihan.
Also at Chainmail Ninja on Twitter.
I forgot to mention my Twitter name because I suck at that. Ovalt the Great.
See, that's how bad he is.
Yeah.
Eventually. One day you
really
will
bad.
just...
People keep messaging me. I'm like, oops. I haven't been on there for a little while.
What are these numbers next to this little square that has a bird on it mean?
Oh God, that must be nesting. And over here we have John King.
Prester John Rex.
Yeah. But we had to remind you.
You did. I totally forgot.
So you're giving me a hard time. You forgot.
Yeah, I forgot, but I knew how to sign up my account.
That's true. That's true.
I only have to do it once.
Yeah, but I have more, so I have like an army of accounts.
That's not how that works.
Just spam people.
So tonight we're going to be talking about balancing your combat encounters. A little less about the rules of it, and more just about gut instinct and how we do it. But first, I think we're all going to talk about what we're excited about.
Yep.
So let's start with you. Let's see what you got.
You put me on the spot.
I'm putting you on the spot right now.
I'm really excited for, and I'm going to steal it, even though it's located in your domicile. I'm really excited for the dungeon.
Yes.
We've talked about it often, but now it's really coming together. It's looking really good.
So, in case you haven't heard anything about this before, we're basically creating a set for our new format, which we haven't really gone into any of the details on, but just rest assured it's pretty badass. But we're creating a dungeon in Brett's garage, which is our super, ritzy movie set.
Oh, yes.
But it's like Universal Studios.
We did so far doing a pretty damn good job. Like, seriously, and...
It's coming together.
I mean, I'm thoroughly, I got to see it the other day, and I was just like, all right.
Okay.
There's a bit of pride behind it. Don't think we need to brag, but it's just, it looks really cool, and I'm very excited for people to see it. I'm very, very excited for people to finally see it, and then we post pictures.
Yeah, once we do our first episode with it, we'll do a blog post and a video, just maybe a bit of a making of type stuff, and then some just some shots of all over the place and stuff. But that's something that will hopefully be growing and evolving as we continue our campaigns and add little knickknacks and stuff. So that's kind of the gist of that. And it's like you said, it's coming together really well.
It's super well.
I'm loving it.
because it's interesting when you're working on a project like that. If everyone's in their corner, working on their piece of it, everyone kind of sees everything in pieces. But when you start to see everything finally coalescing, it's just like, oh shit, this looks dope. So I'm pretty excited for that. I think our fans out there are going to be pretty stoked with it.
Yeah, I think so.
And it's funny because it's funny that we still call it the dungeon. We've always just thought, hey, let's make this like dungeon.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what it is because I'm afraid it'll give it away. I don't know if we want to, but I suppose it's not truly a dungeon, is it? It's
no, yeah, we're
D&D themed,
giving it a little bit of it's a little cozier than your average dungeon.
Yeah, like you want to spend some time there.
So Brett, what are you excited about?
Well, I'm excited about our last episode of CMS, episode 15. I had a lot of fun editing that. I had a lot of fun putting that together. And when we put it out, for those of you who haven't seen it, I tried to do this kind of, a lot of people like to call it 8-bit, it was a little bit more 16-bit, just retro video game style graphics for the combat in there. I didn't have a ton of time. I kind of expended our time a little bit, but doing that was pretty labor intensive, but I had a lot of fun doing it. And there was a huge response about it. A lot of people said that they liked it a lot, which meant a lot to me. I thought that was really cool. So I've kind of volunteered to take on a bit of a side project and going to be creating more of that kind of 16-bit content as like little shorts or other pieces, just fun little videos for people to watch that are going to be in that style. And I'm just going to kind of go hog wild with it. So I'm excited to do that.
Yeah, so if you like that video, you should be seeing more of that coming down the pipe. It's going to be pretty sweet.
Yeah, I know, that blew I didn't even know he was doing it. And all of a sudden I watched it and I was like...
Yeah, and we've also been meaning to do like highlight type reel stuff for a long time, so that's a really good way to showcase it just because it's a really fun, visual style and combining it with our funniest moments and whatnot, so I'm pretty stoked to see that.
It might take a little while because I'm putting together a bunch of assets and just getting some stuff together to really do it right. There was some stuff, when I watch it, I'm my own biggest critic, and I'm like, oh, I could have done that better. This didn't quite work out right, but that worked out great. So I just want to make sure I do it right. So it's coming down the line.
I mean, when you're working on any project, be it like DMing or a video process like that, you want to, if you have a choice between putting in some legwork up front to put yourself in a good position so you have all the tools you need, like building up an asset library or whatever it is to make things run smoothly once you get rolling, it's definitely worthwhile. I mean, assuming you're doing it more than once. I do the same thing for my DMing process, so I think that's definitely wise to do.
Yeah. And I'm also I was going to say I'm excited because when I mentioned it to Tiffany and to our friend Patrick, they both got very excited and wanted to help me out. And I think it's something that they could really sink their teeth into helping out with. So yeah, we've been conferring quite a bit and just having some fun brainstorming. So
sweet.
So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Awesome. Well, my excited about is, I know we're all excited about this, but the tavern sign that Devin Rue made for us. If you haven't watched Per Diem before, this artist has come up quite a few times just because she does such awesome work. And if you haven't checked it out, check out rueinc.com. There's a ton of really cool little prop things. She does custom hand-drawn maps for your campaign if you want. And one of the things she also does is custom engraved and kind of
wood burn
style tavern signs. And in our campaign, the characters have put together a tavern called the Barfing Bugbear, and we had her do a sign, and it just came out so fucking cool.
Yeah,
I mean, I've seen some cool ones, but she just blew my mind with, kind of shattered my expectations.
Yeah.
I was really stoked to see that. because we had kind of a design that you had done on a coaster.
It's funny that I just made a coaster.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
And we were like, here you go, just kind of do something like this.
And
then she just was like, here,
boy.
check this out. And just knocked it like right out of the park. So
I died a little inside. No, in a good way. It was...
But we threw the coaster out.
I just
Like,
chopped it up.
Terrible.
Yeah, and she just actually released today a making of. So if you guys haven't checked that out already, it came out today's Tuesday. If you're watching this, it's probably a couple days later. But check out that video. It's freaking rad. It shows all the painstaking effort that went into it. Because even when I first saw it, I was like, this is awesome. And then it's one of those things where you look at it, the more you look at it, just more and more details start coming out. And then you're like, this isn't just paper, this is wood. And you watching the making of, I was like, she had to be in there with like a swab with wood stain, like doing some of the shading and stuff. So I was just blown away. So I just wanted to say our deepest thanks for that.
Thank you,
to her. And
awesome.
I'm excited.
If I had a hat, I took it.
But yeah, and I can't really divulge any of the secrets, but I've sent some super secret DM projects over to Devin. So at certain points, I'll be whipping out custom made shit for you guys to look at. And
more science. It's just like a bunch of tavern signs.
But you came into a new tavern.
And I gotta say, she made the eyebrows like almost hypnotic, like mesmerizing.
Look into my eyebrows.
Kind
They
of
rule you.
Like mine. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the detail on the barf for me.
Oh,
like just a little bit of sludge, a little bit of like this. And watching that making of video was just amazing, just to see like, okay, that's cool, and then, whoa,
like,
like,
oh no.
No, there's so much more to it.
I mean, when I drew it, the barf was a bit more liquid and projectile, a bit more of a stream. Hers has more of a viscous, chunky aspect to
like
it.
Like it actually ate
was
something.
I feel like that's a little bit more realistic, right? Like
That's true.
A bugbear is going to be eating some chunky
most likely
foods.
Yeah, it's
a lot of protein.
It's not going to ye old Jamba Juice or anything like that.
It's like, I'd like a protein boost.
Freeze a cow smoothie. I'm trying to watch my figure.
I like the in-depth
With his
analysis.
eyebrows.
That's actually our new subject for the night, is the in-depth analysis of bugbear barf and what's in it. Buckle up,
folks.
It's a wild ride.
It's going to be really chunky. Sorry.
Just chunky with subject matter. All right, so with that, check out Devin Rue's website, rueinc.com if you haven't. If you're looking for custom props, like it's seriously the way to go. She does amazing work, and I can't recommend her enough. So do that, and we'll move into our
stuff. She's got her books and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
the book.
She's got all kinds of stuff.
I'll be linking all those videos and stuff. So check out that stuff, and then for now, I think we can move on to balancing combat encounters, which I've seen this question come up quite a bit. It's a tough one because, like a lot of stuff that comes up, there is a by the book way of doing it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't know about you guys. I know about you because we share kind of a similar style in regards to that. When I'm planning an encounter, I generally just don't use the book system. There's a
system?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all on the same page. I mean, there is no page.
I'm not a big fan of math, so it's kind of complex, or at least on the complex side of what I want to do when I'm planning a combat encounter. Like, if I'm setting up an adventure, I don't want to be like, okay, I'm planning this, and then like these dudes, maybe like a bunch of bugbears will jump out, and like, I don't want to be like, okay, let's bust out, and all right, well, this guy's this level, and blah blah blah. So the challenge rating matches up, but then this, So I understand that a lot of people are going to like that because it's a very like solid, systematic. This is how it works. But I feel like, as with a lot of stuff in dungeon mastering, you need to just apply some judgment to it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I absolutely agree.
Why don't we? Do you want to just go around the table, or does anyone have a place to start off?
Oh, well, I'd like to touch on the system that's in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, go for it.
because I don't have many gripes with the system itself. I think it's a solid system. I think it's great, and I know why they put that in there, because a lot of people they want to have a balanced game. They want to make sure that the encounter is fun but not too dangerous. And
well, yeah, it's like, what's the point of having monster levels and stuff like that if it doesn't feed into some system that uses them for some sort of equivalency, right? So, yeah, I get the need for it, and really my only gripe is just how long it takes. Now I must mention there's some cool online tools. Like I don't remember the name of it, but I'll link it in the description. There's a really cool calculator where you just go, this monster times 3 plus this monster. My characters are 5 characters of this level, and it spits out a result. So that's the limit generally of my involvement with that system, which I typically will use it for, like, I'll come up with something and be like, how's this compare? Okay, that looks about right, or whatever. Or just for monsters I've maybe never used. Like, okay, like I'm throwing whatever 2 manticores at them because that sounds about right. But they haven't fought a manticore. Maybe it's got an ability or two I haven't really got a lot of experience with. Mm-hmm. Check that. Oh shit, this is red. Maybe not. Yeah. Whatever. But anyways.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think it's just one of the things that frustrates me about it is something I learned early on with Savage Worlds. I think it even says it in the book. Is we don't have a challenge rating or a challenge system or this and that because not all combats are going to be fair. Like sometimes they're going to be really hard.
Sometimes they're purposefully super unfair,
easy. Yeah. And it's God, there's so much to say, but it's that's why I'm not big into trying to mathematically calculate that. Then I spend an hour trying to shoehorn my monsters to fit my heroes. So like. I was doing a bunch of goblins and some hobgoblins. I had a mixed group of creatures. And the math starts getting crazy on it because I was like, well, I want to have about 10 goblins and maybe about 3 or 4 hobgoblins. Oh, no. You couldn't do that. You could have like 2 regular goblins and like 3 hobgoblins. I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like, they're going to have more goblins. Well, and then it's like, or you can do like 9 goblins and 1 hobgoblin. I'm like, no, don't.
Well, I mean, you also have to take into account and this goes for a lot of shit in DMing, but you have to take your party into account. Because
absolutely.
That was a mistake I made in the last episode of Sea of Mists, actually. Because I was like, okay, these guys are coming into Wave Echo Cave. There's 6 of them, so we're already 1 more player over the recommended party size. And they're already level 6. This is like, I think, 1 to 5. So you're already more powerful than you should be, and there's more of you than there should be. So I was like, I'll just double the number of monsters. That seems legit. Just because I was in a little bit of a rush. I hadn't had as much time as I would have liked to prepare. And I didn't consider what happens at level 6 or level 5 or whatever it was. Nada has Fireball now. yeah. So just because I changed 7 fucking bugbears to 14, guess what? They all fit in that room.
It was like perfect size.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, on the one hand, I was like the DM. I was just like, oh my god, that sucks. But on the other hand, I was laughing my ass off because I was like, that's fucking sweet. If I was a player, I would want to vaporize 14 bugbears and get like this awesome moment. So, it's not like I regret doing that, but at the same time, just thinking in terms of numbers can lead you astray if you're not taking those things into account. So, that's one thing I would take away is like, be aware of your players' abilities, especially when they level up. Talk to them. Say like, oh, you guys are leveling up, so what'd you go for? All that stuff. Like, players are excited to talk about their characters. It should not be hard, and that's just something I neglected to do. When she said, I cast Fireball, I was like, oh, wait, you can cast Fireball? Oh, alright, yeah. How big is the explosion? Just because, I'm still... For better or worse, I'm still kind of considering this a fledgling band of adventurers, and we're starting to kind of come into our own where there's going to be some cool shit flying around. So that's just, be aware of what your players can do is because I was thinking, and this isn't a bad rule of thumb, right? Like a lot of things in 5th edition, I think it comes down to your action economy. So even if you've got 5 players, they might, even in their high decent level, like 3 or 4, whatever, they might have a hard time with like 10 goblins because they're not able to respond to all those actions. Maybe, through bonus actions and stuff, maybe. But you get my point of when there's more attacks coming in than there are going out.
Yeah.
It can really affect things drastically. So, like, 1 or 2 extra actions on one side really changes things. But not so much when there are, there's those force multipliers, like, like your fireballs and things like that.
I wanted to kind of take 2 seconds to talk about that specific combat.
Yeah, I'm done.
So those of you who have seen that one,
Yeah.
if you've seen that episode, you don't really hear it in the audio as well. But I have to say, one of my proudest moments was the fact that when I tossed that hypnotic pattern into the room, the hypnotic pattern is a 30-foot by 30-foot cube, and the room where the bugbears were was exactly 30 feet by 30 feet. Like, it's like they were made for it. Like, it's all...
I didn't design that, so when we get Rich Baker, I think.
Yeah.
Once he's on, we can ask him if that was designed to be turned into some sort of like disco
or fireball death room.
Yeah. Well, what was funny
just
is that there was enough room for it to fit a fireball and then the party.
Yeah, I know. It was like
I was like, oh,
that's kind of perfect.
But you ruined yourself some loot, which is a fair trade-off for not having to fight 14 bugbears.
Melted metal on the ground.
I mean, it's still a pile of slagged silver, which
How much for this?
clunk.
Yeah, turn that into a sword.
It is a mining town.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I never use the system. I look at it and I go, "That's cool."
Now, I hope nobody from WotC is watching this because they're like, these guys are fucking assholes.
No, it's the same reason, like you kind of said it earlier. I don't like math well enough where I don't want to do that. And so I just typically take into account, okay, they're all this level. They all have a few things here, so okay, I manage that. And I'm like, okay, the first combat was pretty easy. This was a test to see how they went. Let me sprinkle a couple more for the next encounter. Mm-hmm. Okay, that was maybe a little too hard. One person got... Let me throttle it back for the next one. And I just kind of ebb and flow with it. With the exception of like when you have those moments where, it's supposed to be pretty hard. When you're going to fight the big bad or something like that. Like you guys laid waste to my big bads that last game. I was like, man, they didn't even get to hit you once. But that was...
no, Siege got hit a ton of times. He just was so tough. It was like...
Well, that's what I'm saying. I
didn't get it.
You didn't get hit? No, everyone...
That's because I'm a super fucking hacks barbarian with my buck naked AC 20 or whatever. Somebody get on that. WotC, I'm talking to you.
I'll say I'd be totally fine with someone from there seeing us talking about this. I ridicule it, but it's constructive criticism.
Yeah.
And I get why they put it in there. I totally get it. And for a ton of people, I'm sure it's super useful. I'm sure they use it and they live by it and they swear by it. It's just not my style.
I think for a starting DM, it would be a great
it gives you a reference point. And like I said, I mean, I still use it in the form of an online automated thing because when I was reading through it, I was like, people actually do this? Holy shit, this is a lot of work just to figure out the combat encounter. And I feel the same on Barbarian. I understand, like, there's a trade-off. You don't get as much magic armor and stuff like that, so there's trade-offs. But,
it's still pretty hacks.
I kind of QQ a little bit about it. I just don't see the point of being a fucking fighter who has to spend $1 million on plate armor when you got Barbarian running around with arrows bouncing off his ass.
Siege just wants his plate armor. And,
One day.
I took one of my fighter things in having a higher armor class when I'm wearing armor. And everyone's like, oh, that's the dumbest one. I'm like, I just want to be super armored. And then you're like, my AC's higher. Like, you're not even wearing clothes, man.
Not even using a shield.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got fucking nipples and
nipples of steel.
It's true. And a beard, a mighty beard.
A mighty red beard.
I like that character. But anyways, I digress.
Well, something I've been doing lately that quite coincidentally pertains to this subject quite well. I've been running Tiffany and Mike and Patrick and Shalyn on some evil games. So I made them make some evil characters just for fun, just to play around.
Are they evil characters?
They're very evil.
They're probably not that evil. They're like, I will jaywalk.
No,
citizen.
Yeah.
they actually haven't had much chance to express their evilness to the outside world.
So it's like an inner monologue sort of thing.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's
Oh,
like
I
inner
can't
torment.
wait to be
I'm gonna
so
fuck-
evil.
It's an
so
existential game, actually.
They're like nihilists.
Yeah, they're just sitting
They're
around talking
smoking
about their
their cigarettes.
feelings.
Oh.
Yeah. They're having cloves, just black velvet, like no,
Play that lute.
yeah, listening to The Cure, just like, but no, so ran on an evil game, and in it, I started them off as they're undead. So
All of them?
Yeah, I made them. They're revenants, and so they have 1 year to get revenge on whoever killed them. And I just had this quick write up on this is the person that killed you, and this is how. And you have 1 year to do it.
That's kind of cool.
But the person that brought them back to life was my evil character from Mike's campaign, Silrain. I said that she became the Drow queen, and was like, now, well, you think that she's running shit, but they don't really know what's going on. It was also my way of writing her into the history of Mike's campaign. Like, she can never die, because then you're messing up continuity. But what's neat is because they didn't know they were undead at first. And
that's cool. They like kind of wake up.
Yeah, I mean, they were kind of they were in these sarcophagi, and they got out, and they're like,
"What?"
Yeah, and the skin was kind of gray, but they thought they had been brought back to life, but then they stumbled in this room, and I threw 18 skeletons at them. Oh, and they were I started no actually. They were like, "Hey, can we start at level 5?" Like jokingly, I said, "Okay, fine." And then I was like, "I'm just gonna beat the crap out of you for being level 5." And I was like,
"That's what you get."
Yeah,
should never ask.
God, you jerks!
No.
You got two skeletons and a hangnail.
Well, that's because actually that's a piece of advice you always gave was if people want to have like a big tiger as a pet or something, you just ramp up the difficulty.
And actually, that's one thing that I kind of wanted to bring up earlier. When you're you don't have to nail the combat difficulty. Sometimes you're going to get those fireball moments where it's just like everybody's gone. But typically, especially if you overdo it, it's not hard to fudge some rolls and be like. I mean, obviously, you don't want to be like, "We rolled a 1 again." But you can take if you roll a natural 20 and this guy's already giving him a hard time, maybe he hits, but it's not a crit. Stuff like that. I mean, that's.
You curtail a bit during combat. You gotta remain fluid.
Use the screen. Use the goddamn screen.
That's what it's there for.
Yeah.
Will. I'm looking at you. Use the goddamn screen.
Yeah. I mean, some of you hardcore types just go let the dice fall where they may, and I respect you for doing that, but you gotta manage those disgruntled players too.
Well, so what I was gonna say was that so I threw 18 skeletons at him, and I was like, this is like 4 5th level characters, skeletons. I mean, come on. But they were like in a tomb, and the skeletons were like on them right away.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, that action economy where they're just like, dok, 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 dok.
Cling, cling. And one of the characters dies. I'm like, oh my god, this
Again.
dies. But then the character's shadow exited their body, and I gave them this thing where when they die, they can become a shadow, and they can drain people's strength. So then it's like some skeletons and stuff.
Yikes.
But what was neat is I was using this as my way to test difficulties. I was like, okay, 18 skeletons versus 4 5th level characters.
Too
Duly noted. But they survived, by being undead and
no one had like shockwave or some shit?
No.
What was the makeup?
Sorry. We had what do we have again? We had a death cleric, a warlock is caster heavy, a rogue that multi-class with sorcerer, and a fighter. I want to say, the last guy was a fighter. So very caster heavy.
Fucking evil. You get to start at level 5 and you don't go for Oathbreaker and you. Oh.
Right.
What you want, man?
Yeah, I'd have been like, away with these skeletons.
Yeah,
you're under my thrall.
Yeah. Actually, I threw an undead skeletal minotaur at them and they turned it. Oh, get out of here. It's all, I just ran off. I was like, and that was a moment of like, this thing's, it's like coming down a hallway, charging at him, like, and I was like, dude, this thing's just gonna maul him. He's all, get out of here. And I read them all, and it runs away for an entire minute. I'm all, okay.
Oh, thank you to Turtle and run, sir. It's like, meh.
But then I threw 2 giant scorpions at him. I was like, giant scorpions, I mean, they're kind of like standard issue type creatures. I didn't think that they were going to be that bad, and they jumped on this one on Shallon's character, and just snip. They each have 3 attacks. It's all snip, stab, and she's like, oh, and then it crawled off. It crawled off up a column with her body and just starts eating it.
Oh,
and she's
Jesus!
like, what the fuck? And I was like, yeah, it's just. I'm like, that's a scorpion's not going to stick around if it has its food. It goes off to eat you. So they're all like jumping up, grabbing it, and it was and it snipped her arm off, and the arm falls on the ground, and then Mike goes up and grabs her arm and casts some healing spell because he has to touch her, but her arm's on the ground. It's all it was fun, and then I threw a bone naga at him, and they just destroyed it. So it's funny how
it's the action economy. 3 attacks is no joke.
3 attacks was pretty brutal.
But I've ever since the first grade when they did like a movie night in the gymnasium and it was Clash of the Titans, I have had a very healthy respect for giant scorpions. I saw that dude get stung, and I was like, nope. He had, that dude had a chest plate on, and that did jack shit. He just
went right through.
Why?
Yeah.
Why is this even
beard or no
here?
beard? He went down.
Why is a scorpion even like this?
How did we get this big? Oh wait, no, it was Calabas. That's a whole nother thing. It was his blood, remember?
Oh yeah.
Oh no, it wasn't his blood. It was the Gorgon's blood. He poked it with his little like gardening
shear.
Like his hand got cut off, and then he tried to go all cool and like do something.
Curlers in. Yeah. He's all.
It was like a gardening poker with the 3 things, and he saw Medusa's head chilling by the tree. I think it was Medusa's head. Yeah, and he just pokes it, and then the blood comes out.
Medusa's all, what the fuck?
And then it turned into, no, she was dead.
Yeah.
But then it turned into the giant scorpions and started fucking them up. Like, what a shitty way to wake up.
Yeah.
Middle of the night, can't see shit, and there's 3 giant scorpions trying to eat you.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to wake you guys up like that.
Oh, please don't do that. Because
don't kill any Gorgons. You won't have to deal with it.
Oh, I will kill Gorgons.
Ever since Stranger Things, I'm like, Demogorgon. Okay.
Yeah, I made a vow to finish Game of Thrones first, and I'm almost there. Halfway through season 6, and then Stranger Things.
What's funny is there's some company somebody said the company that made the original miniatures re-releasing it, but then the link was to like one of those just online game stores. So I don't know if it was just a store that had them or what, but. I just Googled, I'm like, Demogorgon miniature, and I saw the official D&D one, which looks like somewhat recent, and it looks fucking badass. I was like, dude, I gotta fit a Demogorgon into my campaign.
Was it one of those big ones?
It looks pretty fucking big. It's like 177 centimeters tall or something. So it's not, I mean, it's big.
They have a bunch of those. They have like, was it Orcus?
Dude, but it's got like 2, it's just like got tentacle arms, and it's got 2 fucking heads, and it's got its scary monster abs and shit.
You've seen the cover of Out of the Abyss, right?
Yeah.
That's a Demogorgon right there.
That makes sense.
Taller than buildings. Like,
is it that big?
It's I believe.
Maybe
correct me if I'm wrong, but I
remember
looking at the sizes of different demons, and I believe it's the biggest of all demons. Yeah, it's like the Godzilla of demons. It's
I have the shirt, so
yeah.
Oh yeah,
I've already done it.
Should we do a shirt roundup or no? Okay.
I don't have a fancy shirt.
I got my Archer for President 2016.
Yeah, I'm part of the Hocking, Indiana Dungeons and Dragons club. So
yeah, you got to finish Game of Thrones, then watch that.
Yes. Now I don't have a shirt, but I did want to bring up. Speaking of my little passion project with the 8-bit, 16-bit stuff, our T-shirt, TeePublic, Orc-Chop Express. We now have the T-shirts of our 8-bit characters up for sale on there, and I'm going to get some very soon.
Only because.
Oh, to show it off.
Yeah, I'll show it off. I had to change it because I got my shirt juicy.
It's hot here. It's very, very hot.
It's very hot. It's like, this is gross. So, I'm surprised I sweated this much. And it just...
We should talk about that in great detail as well.
We should, but I just happen to have my own oval. You can see how wet it is.
Yeah.
It's gross as shit. But there's my oval one.
Yeah, so... Gives you an idea what they look like.
Yeah.
I also have a Trainor one for me. Mm-hmm. I'll probably pick up the rest of the gang soon, too.
And actually, speaking of T-shirts, another thing that was just freaking awesome that Devin Rue did for us is she sent along the files for the picture of the design for the Barfing Bugbear. So look forward to some Barfing Bugbear merchandise. You can get t-shirts and stuff, because that was super cool of her to do. Again, a huge thanks to her, because most artists, you're going to be paying extra for business rights and stuff like that, but she was very gracious.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Super awesome.
I, for one, cannot wait.
And when she told me, I was like, fuck yeah, I want a shirt. It was mostly just for me. I was like, I want that shirt. That looks awesome.
I want a Barfing Bugbear sweatshirt is what I want.
Hoodie?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I want a hoodie.
Or a notepad.
Or a
any of our amazing options over at TeePublic, which isn't Notepad Public.
That was a straight commercial in the middle of us talking about how to do balance.
But, so balance. Back to that.
Oh, yeah. So we were still talking about
Demogorgons. Hey, if you don't like us rambling, then you're probably on the wrong show. That's just how it goes.
This is how we do.
It's the flow. Feeling the flow.
So how does a Demogorgon balance?
I have no fucking idea. I don't
think there's a scale.
I saw the miniature and I was like, I kind of want that. I should probably order that someday, and then I'll just have to figure out how it fits in. And look, if you want a cool monster that doesn't balance with your party, figure out a way. It's not hard. Like, okay, cool. You're on the, you're clearing out Cragmaw Castle, and you want them to fight like an Etten that maybe the Cragmaw have befriended, and it's coming back or whatever. There's some ballista on the on the ramparts, or a catapult, or you can even those odds with situational stuff, and that's goes back to what you guys were saying about not every combat needs to be balanced. Sometimes you want your players to be at a disadvantage. So you, like the very first encounter in Lost Mine of Phandelver, you're ambushed. So, you put your players in situations where they may have to choose between something, right? Like, you can spend this time, gathering up all the treasure, but you've got monsters bearing down on you, so you could just cut and run and avoid a really difficult fight. Things like that. So you have to pick either or, like grab your favorite thing out of the pile and run. Yeah. So, just that's kind of what a big piece of advice I would say is, like, use the environment and the circumstances to your advantage, and don't rely so much on the systemic things like, oh, this guy's got a crazy armor class, so they're going to have trouble hitting him and blah, blah, blah. Like, there's always a workaround one way or the other, so do what you really want to do. I mean, within reason, obviously. Like, level 1, we're fighting a Trask. I mean, sure, you could go and, like, put them in a battle mech or something, but, yeah.
Next campaign. Exactly. I'm done already.
Yeah.
You're all the sons and daughters of the people who were killed by the Trask.
Yeah.
You want revenge.
Oh, that would actually be cool. Didn't Birthright have I don't know, some sort of rules for making
your heirs?
Yeah. But anyways, that's a whole nother.
No, but that's exactly it. You take a look at the like, say you have a big bad, or you want to introduce the big bad, but you don't want your players even to face the big bad yet, but you want them to know that the person's there, the presence is there. Have them show up and use, like, a ring of teleportation, then bomb out of there and leave you some scrubs to fight. Or, like you said, if you had an Etten or whatever, it was wounded beforehand, so it was not even... fully healthy. And of course, like you said, the DM screen will be your best friend in that too.
And also, if you're introducing, like, that's a great way to introduce a big bad guy for later, is this display of power. Maybe when your characters are level 1, it stomps through town and just smashes the chapel or whatever, and stomps off before anyone can do anything, or maybe your characters try to do something and he just shrugs it off and they can't keep up, whatever it is. Now they're like, oh, fuck, well, he's left a trail, and let's kind of follow, and then as they follow that trail, they level up, and eventually they can take him on. But it's that, now we know that this guy is the big deal that we have to deal with, because he's, just showed up and wrecked shop. And I think that's a good way. I mean, you don't want to overuse certain tricks, but I like that one because it's like, it makes an impression. People are like, whoa, what the fuck? And it establishes very clearly, like, this is a problem for, you or whatever. And maybe your characters are dicks and they won't do it unless they're paid, like they're the Witcher or something. But, those are all things. Motivation is a whole nother thing.
Yeah, I'd say if things are going a little too easy, something I haven't done in a while, I should probably do it again. Think of a way to take one of the party members and make them busy. So you were kind of touching on it, but like we have to get through that door, but it has these 3 intricate locks. The only person that can do it is a rogue, so the rogue has to sit there while all these guys are coming after him, and you have to fight them off to protect the rogue while doing that, or
similarly,
keeping up a field of magic, or breaking the spell and
lifting the portcullis, all Conan style. Like maybe you want the fighters are always just cleaving through everything.
Yeah.
So you need a minimum strength of X to lift this thing. The only person who could do it's the fighter. So that's very player specific and targeted, and it feels a little heavy handed. But your players don't really know that. They just find themselves in these circumstances. So all they know is there's a heavy gate, and the only guy in the party that can lift it is this dude. So now we're going to figure out how to hold off this horde of goblins or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's a great fucking piece of advice.
Always backup can always show up. It's too easy.
Oh, yeah.
I know that's the standard one, but maybe it's like, okay, there were 5. Oh, they're going through the 5 real quick. 2 more bust through the side door.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wave 2.
Exactly. Fight. Punch over a trash can and there's a giant street chicken for you to eat or whatever.
Yeah, and you can kind of set that up too, so it looks like you planned it. So if you're
exactly.
like, they're cleaving through these guys. Okay, this guy's blowing a horn.
I was just about to use the horn thing. I've done that a few times. Where it's like, like I have 2 of them. One of them starts doing it, and they'll, and he falls over, but then the other one goes. They're like, oh damn it! Yeah. Or someone else picks up the horn. Players hate when you do that, but it's like, and they shoot him in the neck. He falls over dead. They're like, cool, I got him. The other one's all. Like it's so hard. He's all, oh man!
But that's also one of the fun things about D&D as opposed to like a video game.
Yeah.
Like you can actually give these things some real intelligence where it's realistic to do that.
Yeah.
To do so.
And then you could pick up the horn and do the 3-horn blast to tell them they're all clear, so they don't come or whatever. Yeah. So what do you guys do when it's too hard? Like, how do you reel it back mid-combat? I mean, besides fudging rules or like...
Backup is also another thing. Now, you have to be careful because you don't want to have nothing is worse than getting your ass kicked by a monster and then waking up because the NPC's like, hey, guy, wake up. I killed the monster and saved your ass. Because then it's the NPC show. But that doesn't mean they can't show up and start, poking at some of the other guys. And if nothing else, I mean, the way I run NPCs in a game, I'm not like rolling dice for them unless they're like really involved in the, in the combat. Usually I'll say, okay, they come over, this guy runs over and starts fighting this guy, and this guy, so just kind of holding them down, so to speak. That way it frees them up so they're not fighting so many at once, and then they can get to them and enjoy the glory of killing them or whatever. Or just arbitrarily saying, okay, yeah, this guy kills this guy, and roll some dice. Just because, you're doing it to help the narrative more than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah,
normally if it's too hard, I typically throttle back. Like, say if you're fighting a big, like my villain of the week or something like that, and it's proven a little too tough, you might lose about 20 hit points or something like that. Like
it's an easy one to just hack him in
half. Or like last half, you might just magically double his hit points. That still won't save him.
Or...
it doesn't matter.
Put them maybe in a disadvantage.
Yeah.
They back into a wall. Oh, you notice there's a chain hanging onto this giant chandelier. Be able to hurt them that way. Anything along the lines like that, or so sometimes you might get a player who'll be like, okay, well I want to stab this guy, but then like I want to upswing and try to hit, try to get like a 2 for normally. You'd be like, no, dog, that's not how that works. I'd be like, okay, whatever.
Or,
let's that go through.
Maybe even figuring morale into it. I mean, just because your kobolds can throw themselves upon the players like waves crashing on the rocks and eventually kill them and like one kobold survives, that doesn't mean they want to do that.
Yeah.
Most of these kobolds don't want to die just to, fight off some intruders. They'd probably rather just run away. So it's not out of place to just start rolling some, wisdom checks or whatever. I'm sure there's some morale rules in place.
Yeah.
But
yeah, a lot of the creatures I notice will say, if you kill 50% of them, you know, a lot of them will just say they'll flee. Like, they're not going to stick around.
But I mean, and you could arbitrarily just say maybe these ones are just a bunch of chicken shits, and
they cut out a little sooner.
Well, but also, I mean, that can also play in like something like the Cragmaw. Maybe they're low on supplies, so they're not that well fed, so their morale's lower than average, or whatever it is. I mean, that sort of stuff is pretty easy to justify.
Yeah,
I think.
Another thing I've done, like something I did once when it was pretty hard, was in Noctovia. I had, a lot of stuff's hard in Noctovia. But they were going along in this carriage along this ridge on this kind of mountainside, and it's raining, of course, because it's Noctovia. And then they got surrounded by a bunch of, I think, Tyrminch, and got attacked, and this is pretty hard-fought battle. And then, like, I was kind of sensing, like, uh-oh, this isn't going to go so well. So I mentioned that they saw, like, some rocks kind of falling down from the cliff, and they were thinking, oh no, a rock slide's going to come from up there. And like, even like, it's almost like they were pointing up there, and then the whole road just out from under them, and then went collapsing, and there's a landslide, and it just, and you know, everything fades to black, bum bum bum.
Yeah.
And then they wake up, and I dealt more damage to them because that was only fair, but. Now their carriage is gone, a bunch of their goods are gone, but all the bad guys are gone. So they lost a lot of stuff, and now they're lost in the woods, and that created a whole new dynamic. They're like, we gotta get to that castle, but now we're like lost, and we don't have all this stuff. But they survived, you know. That's kind of it's kind of an extreme situation, but like you mentioned before, using the environment, you could use the environment to do that. Sometimes it can be a little ham-fisted, you're like fighting some dudes, and then this column just squishes a bunch. You're like. Like, I don't know, but
you can use it to also to make kind of callbacks, like with reinforcements. Maybe some NPC that they had totally forgotten about comes in and just pokes a couple guys and goes, "Oh, I haven't seen you guys in a while," or whatever it is.
Say a thunderstorm rolls in and the bad guys are scared of lightning, you know, so they're lightning and thunder. They're just so the morale's kind of lowered, and then they kill a few more and they're like, "Fuck this."
Yeah. And also, I mean, there's also the Hail Mary thing, where I think I don't think this is an official D&D rule, but I've seen this as a custom house rule at a lot of tables, like a lot of people post about this, where you basically, if you just pray to your god as an action, you just roll percentile, and if you hit like a 1...
Oh, yeah, then, I was reading about that.
You know, divine intervention or something. I mean, again, at that point, you kind of lost all hope, but if you're in like a major battle and your character is just foobar...
Oh, that's another one. If, say, you're fighting a bunch of beastmen or kobolds or something, and things are looking dire for your party, you say, oh, you spot what looks like their shaman or their leader type. You know, everyone make a knowledge check, and whoever makes it, you tell them, if you kill that guy, they're all going to run away. Yeah. Like, they follow that dude. And so then they just focus, shoot some arrows, kill that dude, and now it's justified.
But I also don't want to make it sound like your heroes should never lose, right? Like
that's true, yeah.
That can also, I mean, it's going to be a little tougher on the DM just because that's not what you planned for. But if you lose to the goblins or the beastmen or whoever, you know, fade to black. But then also put yourself in these guys' shoes. Like, they want to make money, or they want, you know, they might have different motivation than just killing people. So you wake up in little crudely made cages, and they've got all your stuff, and they're divvying it up, and they're, you know, whatever they're going to do with you. Maybe they were saving you to eat, or they're going to make you, you know, work in the mines, or whatever it is. Then you can have I mean, honestly, like an escape scenario is pretty fun, right? Because it gives you this kind of, it's the kind of dire situation a hero would find themselves in a movie. So, and then you already know these goblins can, you know, mean business because they beat our ass earlier. So, you know, you don't necessarily always have to just, you know,
let them win.
Yeah, I mean, and even if it is a blunder on your part, like you just made the combat too hard, that, you know, that's kind of my take. Like, don't be afraid to let them get their ass kicked, because if you don't, then they're never going to be afraid of anything.
Yeah.
And you get situations where it's like, oh, green dragon, I attack it. Like, oh, yeah. Roll an intelligence. Remember, I was like, roll an intelligence check, and it's like, oh, 3. I'm like, God damn it.
another thing, you could also, if you have a divine character like a cleric or paladin, you just say that their god tells them,
Get the fuck out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you use that in combination with, so instead of having a tree fall on a bunch of bad guys, lightning strikes a tree and it moves out of the way, opens up this clearing, and then that's when they see a second battalion of bad guys. Just now it is abundantly clear this battle is way overweight for you.
Yeah.
Get out. And now it's chase scene time. But the dangerous part about that is there are times, just like with that Green Dragon thing, or I've done the same thing where I'm like, it is time to run. This enemy is beyond you, and the player's like, I don't care. I'm
Yeah,
like, okay.
well, if you don't have Gandalf to be like, get the fuck out of here,
Yeah.
you might not, because you're just like, whatever, we got this. It's just goblins and a giant.
It's just
Whatever.
like 38 goblins. Like, it's cool.
That's cool. I got 29 arrows.
But then if you have like real crafty players, you also have to be careful, because then they work through a tunnel and then they realize, wait, this tunnel's only 5 feet wide. Let's pull some 300 shit, and then they, so.
Well, yeah, and then they do that for a bit. The goblins realize that that's not a good idea, and they take off. And hey, now they pulled a victory out of the escape. Good for them.
So, just know your party. I think is one of the bigger ones. But I think we've touched on some pretty good advice. And again, this is all non-systemic stuff, so your mileage may vary on it. But I think if you apply those tools, you should end up with some pretty good results.
Yeah, use the tools, but be fluid. Don't be rigid. Be
like
water.
Bruce Lee.
That's
Be
right.
water.
Be water, my friend.
Yeah. And you can turn a low-level bad guy into a serious threat by playing them intelligently.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's another thing to do. Yeah, it's like, even like mid-combat, you're like, wow, they're just going to, like, destroy this guy. Then he goes running off, hits this thing, and the gate comes down, and you're like, oh shit, and then he starts shooting you with arrows through it, and you're like, god damn it, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, and plus, whatever, he's the bad guy, he's got gold, he can pay for information about the characters, he can hire assassins and hitmen, or just informants, he can pay people to poison their food, and, all sorts of good stuff, and that's just, somebody within society. Now you're talking about, like, humanoids or vampires or whatever the fuck. Like, there's so much you can do. If you really, and you have to be careful with that too, right? Like, if you played, like, a master vampire character to the utmost of its ability against a party, like, that would be a motherfucker to deal with. Dude's, like, misty vaporing into your room at night and all, there's a lot you can do if you play it as if it was like your character. So, yeah, for sure. Do that. Temper it with some, don't just murk your group, because no one likes that. But but at the same time, teach them a lesson maybe, or make them fear that character.
Yeah. We talked about it before, like when we were talking about bad guys, and I said, remember that your bad guys have exactly same motivation, if not more. Whatever their big goal or whatever they're trying to accomplish. So even when you're not dealing with them directly, they're still there. It's almost kind of like
they're doing something.
Yeah. So a lot of times when I plan out my adventures, it's like, okay, well, what is the big bad guy doing? Oh, well, this is what they would be doing right there.
That's what I'm doing with you guys. Like, you're hearing about these other players, and you're doing your thing, but make no mistake, they're off doing their things, and that while you don't see that immediately, those sort of things are fun, because that also gives you food for thought as a DM. Like, if you hadn't considered that, like, what is your main bad guy doing while all these machinations are happening? The players are foiling his plans. Like, what's he doing if he's not fighting them directly? And you'll probably come up with some cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ovalt needs to start getting some sparrows throughout the entire...
little
spies everywhere. I can see Ovalt doing that.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'll be like, that's enthralled with Twit. That's enthralled with Twit.
Shooting.
Hey guys, I got sparrows for dinner.
It's like 30 gold of sparrows you just killed.
Literal
You didn't even block them. It's like,
you're just like
raw
it's like that dude from X-Men.
They're good for you, Raw.
That's nasty. All right, well, I think that's about a good time to wrap up. So yeah, we hope you found this useful, or if nothing else, a little entertaining, maybe laughing at our goofiness. But find us on Twitter. I'm at Chainmail Ninja.
At Ovalt the Great.
At Presser John Rex.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube. It really helps us out a lot. iTunes reviews, SoundCloud. Feel free to tweet at us or find us on Facebook. And if you want to support the podcast, please go ahead and check out our store, buy some shirts or whatever merch you want. Because we'd much rather give you guys something in return for your support rather than just, putting a hand out and asking for money, which, is just not really how we roll. So
Yeah, not us.
All right. Well, until next time, peace out.
Bye.
Keep watching the skis.
Skis.
I mean skies.